Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 311 at scavengerlife.com.
It is good to be home, isn't it, Ryan?
I love being home.
This was, I think, our first full week home since being away.
It's very nice.
I love our home. I think anyone that has a successful store, that should be one of the foundations of your successful store is that you love being at home.
Yes, because you work at home.
Yeah.
You live at home.
But I love how our home is. I love the food in our home. I love our daily routines.
Yes, I agree. It is very nice. We started sleeping on the front porch because it's like hot and summery, which is very nice, and it's like camping at your own house.
Yep, that is interesting. We started that a year ago. We don't have AC in our house.
Right.
We always go back and forth, like in the depths of summertime in Virginia when it's really humid and hot, like over 100, and even at nighttime it's in like the upper 80s. I'm like, we gotta get AC, but to get a proper, AC system in the house might cost
expensive.
$8,000-$10,000. So, but those moments are really brief. And the way we solved it was the old-fashioned way. We have a great covered porch. We bought these great, oversized cots.
They're like camping cots.
They're like glamping cots. Glamorous camping.
Well, it's so funny because the cots are basically made for people who are camping, and they're huge. And you're like, who would bring these camping? People do, I guess.
And so we have them on the porch, and it's great because we live in a rural area. There are houses around us, but it's very quiet.
Yeah.
There's some woods right by our house, and so...
And our cats live on the porch in the summer, so...
Right, so they like to sleep on the cots with us, and it gets cool at night. It's like the perfect thing.
Yeah, it was really nice last night. We were like, yay, we get to sleep outside.
So sleeping on the covered porch is cheaper than spending $10,000 on an AC.
Yes, it's quite nice.
Okay, all that being said, here's the question I have for you.
Okay.
I'm going to back into this.
Okay.
A couple things.
Yep.
Number one is, I'm lucky that I've never really had a good paying job. When I think of the grand scheme of things, when I got out, when I met you, I was probably making about $40,000.
Yeah, I was too, actually.
At that job I had.
Yeah.
But you were doing a little bit better because you're younger than I am. So $40,000 at your age was actually not bad.
Was huge.
I was getting into my, I was late 20s, early 30s, and I was still making 40. And I'd chosen a field where I probably wasn't going to make a whole lot more.
Well,
anyway,
nonprofit world, yeah.
So when we said we wanted to go, our own way, I was like, there's nothing stopping me.
Exactly.
Okay, some people on the forums that, as we know, they do their eBay store part-time, which is incredible because they also have a full-time job, and they say they love their jobs.
Yep.
And some people sound like they get paid. The one issue is they get paid a lot of cash and have good benefits, and I think it's hard for them to think about
why would they leave? Yeah.
And then number 3, we just came back from working for somebody else, essentially.
Yeah.
As contractors, but we're still doing someone else's work.
Right.
And it was really exhausting.
It was exhausting.
I mean, we talked about, when we were on the plane, just like, God, I can't imagine doing this every single week.
All the time. Yeah.
So my question to you is, if someone offered you a job at $150,000, because I think the kind of work that you do, someone would pay you that much money.
Yeah.
$150K a year plus benefits.
Would I take it?
Would you take that over doing what we do? Nope.
I can answer that right now.
200,000.
Well, so the question is this though: would I be able to work at home? Do I have to commute to an office?
Nope,
I mean,
you got to go to an office.
No. Oh God, no.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, and how about, and you don't have to drive, because I know one thing is some people drive far away from where we are, but why don't we say it was right in town? So you have to go in town, but you have to sit in an office, in the office environment.
See, I have so many questions. Yeah. What would I be doing? Yeah.
Yeah. You're editing.
Video editing.
A video editor.
So but
why don't we say it's kind of interesting work, you're kind of, but essentially you're doing someone else's work.
Well, so the problem is with that is it's a tough question. It's a tough question, and I know Like, the answer is no. But at the same time, I'm like, I would love extra money to be able to pay off our debt and not have to worry about, slow time. Yeah, I get it, but
Like just consistency and the safety.
no, I mean,
and,
I see both sides. And then I see my friends who do have those jobs, maybe not paying that much, and they're just like, I want to get out so bad.
Right.
And you're like, I know. I totally get that.
Yep.
The grass is always greener on the other side, but
Yeah, I mean, even someone that makes, good, if you're making over 100K a year, 120,
Right.
I mean, which
Yeah.
is incredible
lot
to
of
think
money.
about. You're making over $10,000 a month. That's not take-home pay.
right, but
So,
that's,
I would say your take-home pay is 8. I mean, we know
Right.
people like that, and we find that people then end up spending a lot more money because, they're tired and they're paying for convenience, they're
Sure.
paying for, I don't know, I was just thinking about that after we, work those jobs, and, I've seen people talking about it on it's forums about enjoying their job. I was just wondering, is
there a number?
are you ever tempted to get a job?
I mean, there are times when you want it just temporarily because it's a slow time, or with renovating houses, you're like, all this money's going away as fast as I can make it. And that's hard.
Yep.
But then at the same time, when everything is going well, you're like, this is the best.
I'll tell you, it's my answer.
Yeah, what's your
it's
answer?
Absolutely no.
Absolutely
I mean, there's
not.
almost no. I mean, we could play this game what about
Yeah, sure.
$1 million?
What if it was
Yeah.
this situation? Yeah.
I just, the idea that someone buys my time
Yeah.
and I'm essentially doing what they want me to do
Yeah.
is just a
It's
tough
done.
pill to swallow. I'm
Yeah.
just too spoiled now by being able to choose what we do every moment of the day.
Yeah.
It's much more exciting. It's interesting. It gets me out of bed. I get excited about getting out of bed because I'm always doing a list on my phone about stuff.
You are
I
so
want
different
to
than
do.
me. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it would be, even if someone said, $500,000. I mean, it would almost be like, could I swallow it for a year?
Right.
I would never think about doing more than that. So.
No, it's tough. I hear you.
But that's also easy for us to say. There are probably people hearing this that have jobs. Everything we say that we hate. They have jobs and they're like, hey, it's not that bad. We've also had the benefit of we've already jumped over that gap,
Right.
of having jobs and then jumping and having that weird, there's probably a good 4-year period of time where it was kind of, I don't want to say touch and go, but it's definitely a learning experience between having steady income and then just the only money we have is money we make on our own.
Right,
And,
right.
We've jumped that gap.
Yeah.
And now we're on the other side.
Yeah.
And we see how it works.
Right. It's a really tough question. Yeah. And, that's not to say, we'll never have a job again, which is probably true. I don't see myself having a job anytime soon, unless it were, a longer contract with someone, for freelance work. That's all I can see, really. Just because...
Well, I always think, doing freelance work or contract work, the kind of work we have continued to do, there's little short-term jobs.
Yeah.
I think that's different than having a job.
Yeah.
Because even though we are working for someone else, we really, being a contractor, 1099, the whole point of the contractor is they're not telling us how to do things.
Right.
They're just saying, we need this
thing done.
And you do it. And the problem is when you often work for someone else, they're often telling you how to do it.
Well,
they want to see the process and have a say in the process.
I mean, that's the issue, when you're saying, what if you had to go to an office nearby, but you were video editing? Say it's for a TV show. I mean, that is working a job. That's it's almost like data entry. It's that kind of mind-numbing thing where you're just cutting down footage, and it's just oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was I was thinking about this. So we've also been talking on the forum about like how to improve, and people come on and they're like, I do this and this works and this works. And sometimes, we have disagreements with people or people have disagreements with us about what works and what doesn't work.
Right.
And I was thinking about, we've had a store long enough where we've really evolved.
Yes.
Starting in 2008 to now.
Yes.
What are we doing now that is totally different? Mm-hmm. So here's a couple things. Number one is we said we would never sell, like I call them bits and bobs. People in England will, as you know that. I never thought we would sell trinkets and glassware and like all the stuff that you see at flea markets,
Yeah. We definitely sell that stuff.
And I would say a majority of our store is that stuff.
You think a majority of our store is that stuff?
You don't think it is? Over
I don't
half?
think it's over half.
No?
I don't know.
Like,
maybe.
I mean, and when I say bits and bobs, I'm saying just everything. Kitchenware, like hard goods.
Okay. Yes, you're correct. It's not just collectibles. It's like
right
kitchen stuff and
like going from being just people that sell clothes to then selling.
No, you're right. Yes,
stuff.
You put it that way. Yes, it's over half.
Something else that we kind of like fought against was buying a label printer.
Yes, and look, you know what? Let me preface it by saying this. I bought a label printer a long time ago, and I could not get it to work for a Mac.
Right.
So it was taking me a long time to hear someone in our forum say, this one definitely works. This is how you format it.
Right.
And that's when I did it. And I love it.
Right.
The Dymo 450.
Yep.
Although I will say it doesn't print all labels. It only prints priority and first class USPS.
So can you be an eBay, like a person that just sells on eBay and only have a thermal printer?
Yes, because you can get the dual sizes that do print both. Mine is like the little thin one.
Would you want to buy that other one?
I could get the dual one. I love the thermal printers. I love them.
So because right now, aren't you doing both? You have. Like,
I'm doing both.
And...
Yeah, because well, I guess the question is, this is like so nerdy. It's like taking up way too much time. The question is, can you do FedEx Smart Post with the dual sizes? And someone hopefully can help me answer that. Yeah. And if that's true, I will buy a dual one.
But I mean, all of these things that we were kind of hemming and hawing about. I mean, it's not so much like we don't want to try it's new things. We just always need evidence that something
that it'll work.
And then we do it. And then we need to do it in our own way.
Because the thing is, like, okay, for the example, the laser printer, or I'm sorry, the Zebra thermal. I was like so excited. I'm like, yeah, and it took me so long to figure it out. I was like, this is not worth my time until there's a solution that's like gonna work and is seamless and is ready to go. I'll do it. I'll change.
Right. I mean, plus I find that people, everyone's kind of solving the problem for themselves, and everyone often has like a little bit of a different
way to do
stuff they're selling. Okay, so let's keep on. It's going.
Next.
Something else was hiring an employee.
It's a big one.
We were, and this is a pretty recent thing for us. The past 6 months. Or 8 months. I mean, we were definitely anti-hiring an employee because the idea is like, why hire someone to do something that we can do
just
ourselves? Yeah, I mean, and we would do the numbers, and it at the time didn't make sense.
Right.
And then we
hired
an employee.
Someone.
I mean, I think also the thing about like, being just kind of like scruffy punk entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs were like, I mean, how do you hire someone without paying them under the table, like taxes and
just all that stuff?
And it turned out it was pretty easy.
It wasn't that bad, yeah. Especially doing it through an online payroll company.
And now I can't, and like all these things we talk about, I can't imagine that we ever did it any other way.
Yeah, I'm like, we didn't have an employee for this long.
Like what a great thing.
Yeah.
Okay, and something else I don't have on this list here, but I'll tell you, and that is when we list an item, doing it without a big chunk of text.
Yes.
Description.
Yes. Like there are items where there's so many item descriptors, I forget what they're called, item specifics now that you're almost like, I don't have anything to say in the description
Right.
now, which is great. That's how eBay should be.
I mean, I
know?
can remember having that kind of arguments in
Right.
a forum with other people where eBay was changing, and it's before eBay didn't have all those items
Right, so you
specifics.
had to write it all in the description.
So basically, what you wrote in the description was what the item was all
and that
about.
kept you safe as a seller, so people couldn't say.
And now they call it structured data.
Structured data,
So now you can, now we're all about, our descriptions basically almost don't have anything.
Almost
in them.
nothing.
Yeah.
Great item. Like, sometimes I literally say that. Awesome shirt. Like, I don't know what else to say.
But that was a game changer too.
Now, another game changer that you don't have on this list was just using the phone to list. Now, we don't just use the phone to list. We do a hybrid between the phone and the computer.
That's almost such a new thing. I didn't.
You almost didn't even. But
yeah.
we don't use our fancy camera anymore because the iPhone 5 is so good.
Yep.
It looks great.
And that's a big example of other sellers teaching us a better way.
Yes.
People had said
I
that.
think all
I was
these
like,
are an
you're
example of
crazy.
that,
Like,
yeah.
how can a phone be better than this awesome camera we have?
Right.
And just finally evidence, and that's what it's all about. People being able to provide evidence of a better way to do things.
Right.
I was like, these cameras, these phones have great cameras.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need some crazy Photoshop DSLR,
Right.
pictures, and it was easier,
And it's just the process is great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think also part of it with a lot of these things, change is a little bit painful, where you're like, this is how I know how to do it. It's already ingrained. Like, I already, and then when you switch it up, you're kind of like,
Yep.
am I doing this the most efficient way? Like that's kind of part of it is this efficient? Is it better than it was before? Why is it better?
Right. Because some
Et cetera,
people,
et cetera.
and we're probably guilty of this too, it's just like, it's better just because. And
Right,
that's
so
not
you're like,
very
why?
helpful. I always kind of cringe when people tell me things like that. So I need people to say it's better because
this
of this.
reason or these
And
are the
explain,
reasons. Yeah.
And, and here's one that we're right in the middle of.
Yes.
And that is an inventory system. We still, to this day, do not have an inventory system that would be recognized by anybody else. It's like kind of our own homegrown.
Yeah.
No one could understand our system. And this is a good example of how I think a lot of these things are. We'll identify that something needs to change.
Right.
We'll start searching for what that change should be. But then it sometimes takes a while to actually implement it just because of how things work. And this is one of those things. We know we need to inventory our stuff better.
Right.
Like have a numbering its system, put those numbers on each listing so like our employee could then pull things herself.
Exactly. She could ship while we're away.
But it's kind of on my list to do sometime in the before September, I think is what I'm trying to aim
Ooh,
for.
have fun with that. That's not going to happen, but okay, great.
It might.
That'd be amazing if it did.
So anyway, so that's a good example of just, change does sometimes happen slowly.
Yes, but it's great when it does and you're like, oh, this is a great way of doing things,
Yep. Okay. Are you ready to talk about eBay?
Yes.
Specifically, our eBay business.
Yes.
And the reason why we do this every week is basically to help, especially it's new people, get a sense of what it's like to run an eBay business.
Right.
The unglamorous part of it.
It's very unglamorous this week, certainly.
So I looked at our numbers this week, and it was one of the first, rare times where I look at our numbers, and it's worse than I thought it was.
It's bad this week.
Our sales were slow.
Yeah.
Like I hear people have been complaining about for a little while now, and it really feels like a summertime slump,
It's kind of weird, though. I will say this. It felt like just on and off. It was like, it's not summer, it's summer. Like, it just was like, last week was great, this week was not great.
So our sales were slow. We sold about half as many items as a week ago, So, I mean, there was a big drop-off. But more importantly for us, our average price of item that sold was only $22. You know,
I'm
we
just
like to
shaking
be
my head.
we like to be more like $40. So
Yeah.
that was the big change for us, is that people were really just kind of buying up. You know, we don't like to list things for under $20, but we
But
do
we
have
do have
we
that
do have
stuff.
those things,
Yeah.
you know. And it's just, people were just like, every sale would be like, oh, $12. Yeah.
Or a $10 offer on a sweater. I'm
Right.
like, fine, I'm taking that.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God.
You know, and people are like, well, what can I do about it? I mean, really,
yeah, what can you
if
do
this
about
is
it?
it's your first time getting into the summertime, again, I cannot stress this enough. It's just, summertimes are slow for
Yeah.
everyone, from Walmart to IBM to
Amazon,
whoever. It's like,
everybody's slow.
yeah, just because people, Americans, you know, that's just, they're not buying as much at summertime, and that's why we always say, don't peg your expenses to what you make at Christmas time. Peg your expenses to what you make in the summertime.
Yeah.
Okay. Something we were doing this week was furniture.
I was listing furniture. Now look, some of it is our furniture. Some of it is stuff we used in our rental that we replaced. So one of the pieces is my desk. We bought it several years ago. It is a true Danish-made teak desk.
It was actually before we kind of knew much about furniture.
Yeah, I just needed a desk.
We thought it was cool. We actually thought we paid $300 for it, which I thought was like, I was like, man, this is a big, like,
it's expensive
splurge for us. It turns out the desk is signed. It's like a really
it's worth about $3,000, and it's so funny.
We hope.
So we hope. I hope it's worth that much. Some other people on eBay have sold it for that much, but it was really funny because at that auction we were bidding against someone, and she was so mad that she didn't get it. She was like, "It's just a reproduction anyway," and I was like, "Actually, it's not. It's not a reproduction."
Yeah.
But it was funny when you bid against someone and they get mad because
Yeah.
she could have bought it for more money.
But so specifically about this desk, because we've had it for a while, it's kind of, it's like all your stuff was on it. So it's one of those
really
things of
crazy.
like, how do we take a picture of it while all your stuff is on it? We figured that out.
Yeah.
But we made a deal that
Yes.
if you sell this desk,
Right.
then you get to buy a new computer.
Yes.
A new, to us, computer, not a brand new computer.
Right. We need a new laptop.
And I think that's a fun way to buy. It's
a
new things.
motivator. It's a good motivator, and plus you're not just like pulling money out of savings to buy something big. You're like, okay,
It's like a challenge,
it's a challenge.
You don't need to have a $3,000 desk.
I don't.
We didn't know.
Right. I don't need it. I've been wanting to sell it for a long time.
Like, we'll just give you. It's like a door. We'll like put a door on some cinder blocks.
I have like a fold out table in one of our sheds. It's just a plastic fold out table. People use it at like a reunion or a picnic or something. I used that for my desk for years, a couple of years, until we bought that. We were like, let's buy a desk. And now I'm like, let's sell the desk and I'll use that table again.
And also, we had just sold a bunch of chairs, like 2 different sales. And I think that always happens when we sell furniture. We're like, wait, we can sell this stuff. So we actually went through and just started looking at furniture we had that we don't use. And we were like, let's just sell this
it.
stuff. So.
I mean, I honestly feel like everything we have is like that anyway.
Yep.
Like everything is eventually going to get sold or recycled somehow.
That's a good point. I mean, and we've talked about this. I feel like almost everything we have is kind of
it's
rented.
sellable.
It's like a rented. It's like we'll buy it, and I'm like, okay, we'll eventually sell
here's a good example that I thought of this week. I bought this vintage. It was Chicago faucets, brass, beautiful antique brass faucet, and we used it at the farmhouse. But it was giving me a little bit of trouble. Like, it needed some little parts inside to be replaced, or it needed to be put in a faucet area in a bathroom that's not used as frequently as the farmhouse. So we replaced it. I bought it for $1. I bought a new faucet that kind of looked similar for like $70. And then I sold the brass faucet for $125. Yeah. So you're like, bought it for $1, used it for 3 years, replaced it with something for, $70, $80, and then made money on the other one. So, it's
love
things
it.
like that where you're like, I actually made money on this transaction. I didn't lose any money. I actually profited on this, which is, kind of crazy. So it's things like that where you're like, okay, that makes me feel better. Like, oh, we didn't lose money. Like, we bought a farm table a couple years ago for our front porch. We're like, yeah, we'll eat on the porch. That never happened. Never. I don't think we ate on the porch once. And then we were like, oh, we don't want it for the river house. We bought it for $200. We sold it for $350, 5 years later. How can you beat that? It just sat on my porch for 4 years,
It's great. Okay, so the scavenge of the week, we did a little bit of scavenging.
Yes.
It's this week. I don't know. I thought this might have been it. We found another laser printer.
This is funny. I keep finding...
Paid $1 for it.
Yeah, we paid basically $1 for it. It's the same Brother laser printer that I have, and I keep finding this model. Anytime I see it, I honestly buy it because it's good to have a backup. I've needed backup printers before where you're right in the middle of like printing all your labels and printing all your invoices, and your printer's like, I hate you.
So one of the printers did break at one point.
It did die.
We had an extra.
Yep, I just used the extra.
And we already have an extra, so
I have two extra. Now I have two extras.
Interesting. So why don't we say we did just buy a thermal printer?
Well, I would still want to do invoices on regular paper.
Okay.
Like for me,
Right.
There are some sellers that are like, it's a waste of paper, which I get because paper you have to buy.
Right.
But Stephen Schultz in his video last week actually showed how he does it. He like does label paper, like he does it like that. It wouldn't work for me that way, but I like having the invoice because then I have a stack of stuff. Okay, this is going to Chicago. It's this. It's gonna, they paid for this type of shipping. Like that really helps me. Yeah. And then I just put it in there so there's an extra address in case something happens.
And I will say, as a buyer, I think it feels professional.
It's a little more professional.
Because I'm like, did I buy something? Oh yeah.
I bought this on eBay, whatever. So I like doing that. It is a lot of paper. Like if you sell 150 things a month, there goes 150 sheets of paper, but
okay,
it's cheap
so
enough.
Even if we bought that bigger, it's thermal, we still need the...
I still also like, we're involved in like community meetings and stuff, and I have to print out agendas, and like I need to have a laser printer.
Okay.
Always. I have a ridiculous amount of printers.
Good.
I have a color laser that I bought on Craigslist for $30, which I love. Absolutely love it.
That's the one we bought it's in New York, right?
No, where we bought it? This is crazy. We needed a printer in Oregon when we were visiting. Oregon. How would you say it?
Oregon.
Okay, whatever. Bend. We were in Bend. And we were like doing Amazon FBA or whatever. And we were shipping stuff home to ourselves. And I was like, you know what I really want? A color laser printer.
That's right.
And I found one on Craigslist for $30. And it was so funny because we went to the woman's house. And I was like, okay, here's $30. She's like, I only listed this for $30. Like at the door, I was like, yeah.
How much are they worth?
They're worth like 100. So I mean, really? Well, this one was older. It's from 2010, so it's like not the bestest. But I don't know. They're like $200. Because I was gonna buy one. I was like, I'm gonna save up. I was like saving up for like points on Amazon. Right. I was gonna buy it, and then I was like, oh, just buy it for $30. I shipped it home to myself, so that cost money, but it's still less than 200. So
plus, there's always just the excitement of like having something that you scavenge. I don't know. There's something sweeter about
I love it. I love that printer. I think
it's great. Sweeter.
Yeah.
Okay, so some random stuff on the it's forum that we have.
Yes.
People have been complaining or have pointed out that if they post a post,
yes,
and if they publish a post and then try to edit it after they publish it again, it disappears.
Look,
and so it's something we're working on.
I think this is what it was. Just to get a little nerdy. I think there were two plugins on WordPress that were like contradicting each other. They were like spam plugins.
Conflicting.
They were conflicting, so I turned one off. Like I think one of them got updated, like it's like an auto update, and one part of it turned on and it turned off this other spam protector. So I turned that off. I was like, okay, cut it out. Let's go back to normal. So it should be okay. If it's still a problem, please let us know, because I will ping our server people and ask them.
So, if ever there seems to be a problem, just email us.
And please.
And people are good about that. We do the best we can. We're not
Yeah.
as server administrators, but we do like to keep a tight ship.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about our numbers. Okay, how slow was it?
Oh, I don't even
Or,
want to look.
as I like to say, how quiet was it? So we sold 39 items in our main store for about $900. So we didn't even break the $1,000 mark.
Yeah.
And it's for us, especially, I mean, for almost 5 months now, we've been doing often over $2,000 a month.
A week.
Oh, I mean, sorry, a week.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So it's tough when a week like this, I mean, you can really feel it. You're like, we haven't had a sale in like 4 hours, and that feels wrong.
So our highest item that we sold was only for $75, and that was for, it's like a suitcase. I mean, that really is its difference between our good weeks and our bad weeks, and that is the price of an item. Because oftentimes we'll sell something for $400,
Right.
and that really takes our day. You know, that carries the day.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right analogy, but you know, but when we're only selling bread and butter, and it's only the lower end bread and butter, ooh, it feels,
It's hard,
it's
yeah.
tough. So
Right.
anyway, it's what it is. And then in our second store, we actually made $500. So our much smaller second store did good, and that's again one reason why I'm not so quick to want to get rid of our second store and merge them together. I don't know. It's just nice having two things going at once.
Right.
And that's not scientific. That just makes me feel better. That's all. Okay, things we sold. We actually sold these at the end of last week, so we couldn't talk about it in the podcast because it already happened.
So they sold. We recorded the podcast on Saturday. These sold on Sunday.
And so we've talked about these. It's before. There are these two mid-century lamps. They're big. They're green. They're made of fiberglass. They're gorgeous. They're an example that we've always pointed out of something we're willing to hold on to, and we've had them for 4 years.
4 years we've had them.
We had them up for, I think at one point, $2,500, and then we were $1,500. Someone gave us an offer of $600, and we actually took it.
I was like, I want these out of my storage.
So we bought these lamps 4 years ago for $150.
I think it was less. It was $130.
$130, and we sold them for $600.
That's not bad, but
yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where, hey, you know, we take a chance. We, you know, the kind of lamps that are like, you know, they're just those weird, wacky, vintage.
they're
hard to
beautiful.
price.
They're great. I couldn't sell them to save my life.
Right, we never got offers for them, even, and this was like the first.
And it's so funny because the guy, like, there's a whole story around it a little bit where he was like, I've been admiring these on eBay for years, and it's so funny. I'm like, he could have given me this offer a year ago, and I would have accepted it. He like sat on it, but actually, it's funny because it's like,
well, I mean, his thing was, you guys accepted a price that was less than half. Could I have gotten even cheaper?
he asked us that, and I was actually kind of mad. I didn't say, I was like, I'm going to let Jay respond to this, because I was like, dude, we took $1,000 off our price. You think I would take less? Like, I was super offended by that.
Yeah.
But Jay was really good. He was like, look, it's a good price. They're incredible. We love these lamps. You can see how much we took off them.
And these items were so old to us. These were actually some of the first like large items we'd ever bought. You know, it's before we would only buy things that would fit in nice, easy to package things.
Yeah.
And we actually had these professionally packed way back
A long time ago.
So they were like already in these nice boxes. So it was really nice actually because we just took them out of our storage,
Put a label on them.
and then
it was
shipped
great.
them off. And we actually charged the buyer a handling
fee because we paid like $40 or $50 to have them packed.
Right.
Because I was like, I don't want to deal with these.
So, you know, he paid the extra to have it done. And then, and just I'll wrap up with this. So someone's like, why would you hold on to something for that long? 4 years. I mean, that's like 48 months.
I mean,
Okay.
I have an answer for that.
And so let's just do it's math. Let's say it's costing us 10 cents a month to keep those up.
Yeah.
48 months. That's $4.80. Like, that's how much our listing was. But, I mean, in reality, we get 10,000 free items on our anchor
Right, so
store.
it's
So really, it's
almost
not even costing us that
nothing.
much. But even if you want to say 10, so really $5. We sold them for 600. We bought them for 100 and it's 50. Really, the only downside is just having to store
Store
these
it,
things.
yeah.
And really, they've been in the back of a corner somewhere, so I didn't even think about them.
Right.
So really, it's not any skin off our back. You know?
I mean, the thing about those in particular, too, I will say, I mean, it's one thing to hold on to, like, a little tchotchke thing. But those, to me, were, like, very special and very rare. So I was willing to be like, look, these are special. The right person will come along.
And, you know, it goes to, you know, sometimes it's you hit a home run and sometimes it's you don't. We were really hoping for that cha-ching into a look down. And
$1,600.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
And it just,
never happened.
Okay, customer issues. So, you know, we sold 150 items during our 3-week trip.
Yes.
We, you know, shipped them all off.
Yes.
And then if you think about it, we have about a 3% return rate.
Right.
So we expect to get its return. So on 150 items, we would expect 4 or 5 people. And
I think it was less than that.
Right. So I
Yeah.
think we might have had 4 people, maybe 3 people say, I got them, they didn't fit, I'm sending them back. And
I think it was even less than that. One shirt came back. One pair of shoes she's sending back, and that was before.
Mm-hmm.
That was like before we even left. I can't think of any other ones.
So maybe it's only 2.
Yeah. One item did break. I did have to refund someone.
So that's 3. You
So
know,
that's 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so we had to kind of deal with stuff like that. We did, and with a couple of those people, they didn't. It's a thing where they don't say I'm sending it back. They say there's a problem,
Right.
and then they kind of just leave it hanging. And you know, I am now very adamant in the thing I do, and I'm just like, no problem. Sorry if you're not satisfied. Send it back full.
The end.
It's refund, and that's the best way to do it.
Because a lot of people just don't want to even send it back.
Right, and then, you know, they can come to, you know, they can really be honest with themselves. Do I really not like this item? Mm-hmm. Because if they really don't want the item, just don't keep it.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Just...
but, you know, I'm finding there's a large percentage of those people that we never hear from again because they actually want to keep the item.
It's the whole thing of they want like half their money back.
I don't know. I just don't want to
something.
get. I just don't want to get into a long conversation about it.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, you're just
I'm just like it's just kind of an off-on thing.
You want
like
it,
the
or
item,
you don't want it.
Send it back. You know, like I don't mind
Yes
eating.
or no?
I don't mind to eat the
Yes.
cost to ship it back if you
Right.
really don't
Right.
want the item. You
Yeah.
know? Like
Yeah.
that's the best I can do.
Yeah.
Okay, our coming week. I have shoes that are starting to pile up that I need to do.
You've done half of them, right?
Yeah, but I just need to finish them off. It's just been a kind of...
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Why not just have our helper do them?
I mean, that's a good question. I guess because I feel like our helper is starting to do everything. I'm like...
I have nothing to do.
I want to still feel like I have a hand in what we're doing, other than
I
buying
agree.
stuff.
I understand that totally.
And you work so hard. I'm like, the only thing I'm doing is shopping. Like,
well, okay, so let's just say this: you are about to go work on the house.
Right.
That is a big friggin' job.
Right. So our coming week is, you know, so other than this pile of shoes
Right.
that I want to do is, we're now finally starting on finishing the renovation of our second place to rent. And I found a guy who I think is going to be good, and we're going to lay down this floor. And so that's...
You're the helper.
I'm the project manager, and that's going to be a big job.
Yep.
I've been gathering tools and
Yes.
supplies.
Yes.
Now, on your end, you know, we need to do books.
Yep.
And this is all me, and this was like 3 months ago.
This was something I did not want to do. I don't.
We were at an
it.
auction. Books were being, you know, auctioned, and they come to the end of the books, and they're like $10 for everything, and I'm like, I'll take it.
And I was like,
and it's like 8 big boxes of old books, and so this is going to be an experiment of like, we'll definitely make.
We
back.
sell books. It's not a question.
But, you know, it's like, really, how long will it take to sell these books? And so we actually may not May, we will be doing a big culling, but this is when having our helper is really nice because
she's really into books
it's like,
too.
it's not fun for us. Hopefully, it's at least not totally boring for her.
She really loves books, so I'm going to be like, please help me figure out what to do here.
One other thing, I mean, we have almost no piles of death anymore. I mean, almost none.
I'm like, where's our stuff to list?
One of the last cornerstones of our pile of death were slides.
Slides, yes.
We had bought several big boxes of slides that we just, and so we need to...
Well, the problem is I need to go through them and lot them, and that's what takes time.
Right, like which ones do we sell by themselves? Which, how do we group them up?
Right. And I think I know how to do it, because when I see stuff, I'm like, ooh, that is a really cool one,
And then you need to list items that she's scheduled.
Yes. Now, I've gotten through a lot of them.
Yeah.
Like, literally last night, since our porch is so nice and we have little beds out there, I, took the laptop out and I sat there, and you were so cute. You were, reading a book, and I was like, I am listing shoes and random flatware. I just was like...
You're so good.
But... because I want to get caught up. And I want stuff to sell, so I was very motivated.
And that's actually something else that we learned from other people, I'm glad people seem to get some support, ideas, help from the podcasts that we do, but we really do learn a lot from other people. And what someone taught us was, it was just like a little tiny comment. They said, when you have a helper, instead of doing drafts, do scheduled listings. Yeah, and that was a game changer for us.
Because the way eBay works on the phone is it only shows you 20 to 30 drafts. But if you schedule it, if you get it out of draft mode and you schedule it, it says it's going to cost 10 cents.
Right.
But that's only if you let it list itself. Right. If I go in and say, no, list this now, that 10-cent fee goes away.
Right.
So that's brilliant.
If you schedule it for a month from now, as long as you list it during that
window,
it's month, then it doesn't actually cost you 10
anything.
cents. Yeah.
So that's so she had 300 drafts by the time I got home.
Scheduled.
I'm sorry. I just made that mistake. Right. 300 scheduled listings. So I've been going through, making sure all the info's good, titling some of them, because some of them she's like, I have no idea what this is.
Right.
Which in the future she should learn to research what it is. But I have all the research in my head, so...
Right.
Okay, let's answer questions from the voicemail. You can always call us. Again, you have 3 minutes. 3 minutes to leave a message, or you need to call back. The phone number is 540-407-8486.
Hey, Jay and Ryan. Will from North Carolina calling y'all. Love your podcast. Listen to it all the time. Love the information. Just a couple of quick comments. One, a while back, it's been a couple of months ago in your podcast, somebody told you guys about, the catalog images, not taking your own photos. That stuff works on things like DVDs, CDs, video games, anything like that with a barcode. You can just scan the barcodes to list if you use the mobile app for listing. So you can scan the barcode, it'll fill in your item specifics, and a lot of times it'll give you a eBay catalog photo. So you don't actually have to take pictures of some of that stuff. Also works a lot for newer books. Second thing was a customer issue. I actually had a person return an item, or say they wanted to return an item, but they didn't actually return it. They had bought it for somebody else, shipped it to a different address, and the person refused delivery on it. So I ended up actually getting the item back, but it took a month and a half before it finally found me. So throughout the course of that, eBay closed the case, basically said they violated their policy by not accepting the delivery, and closed in my favor, of course, who told me to keep my money, move on. And the buyer ended up sending me a message thanking me for the refund she got, so apparently she called eBay, and they must have gave her money back. And then, a month and a half afterwards, I got my item back in the mail. It finally found its way back to my house. So now I have the item again. That was just kind of an interesting one, wondering if that ever happened to you guys. So, love the podcast. Thanks for all the helpful info, and keep it up. Bye.
So it's number one is, yes, we are aware that if you have, specific kind of items, you can just use the eBay.
The catalog images.
Yeah, I mean, we did that when I did an experiment buying a bunch of video games. Stupid. I mean, I thought they would be
Hey, they've
worth a
been
lot.
selling.
Yeah, no, I mean, we made our money back, but it's not, I was like, they'll sell for $20 each. They're selling for like $4.
Yeah.
And all we did was just scan them and just...
use the catalog image. But again, so that's good for people doing video games and books and DVDs. We basically sell none of that ever.
Now,
except we are selling books, but...
Let me ask you, I mean, can you do that, like, when people say they sell, like, they go in and they find the item that someone else has, can you just, like, copy all of that stuff? Like, do people, does eBay allow that? Like, can you just say, sell this exact thing, and it just copies over all the pictures?
It doesn't copy the pictures, that's the thing. If you're like...
So
if you have this collectible item, it won't use the same photos. Okay. It's not like Amazon.
So why does it do it for a video game or a book?
Because those are like commodity items. Okay. I have no idea. Okay. Yeah, I don't. I'm not sure. I don't know why.
Okay.
I don't have a good answer.
Got it.
And I don't really care either, because I really do not sell that stuff.
But it is a good, if that's the stuff that you sell, that's
books,
that's
DVDs,
helpful.
Video games.
So basically, it's more like Amazon in that way. And then the second thing is, if someone denies the item, then eBay should cover you. Now, if the buyer called back and got it, switched and then got their cash from you, I will call eBay again.
Well, make sure that they didn't take the money out of your account. It sounds like eBay ate this and refunded them. I've had this happen before too, where eBay covers me, but they also cover the buyer, and the buyer thinks that I refunded them, which I find to be an issue, because then the buyer will probably do this again.
Right.
With another seller.
eBay should make clear, like, we're
refunding.
We're gonna refund you as like a courtesy.
Right.
But don't do this again.
I don't know what they say to the buyer. Yeah. That's what my question, because I've had this happen recently where someone will dispute a return reason or whatever, and they're like, we're going to cover them, but we're not going to take it out of your money.
Right.
So I'm like, that's kind of a problem.
And, I think that's something that we've been seeing a lot in the its forums. People are coming on and they're complaining about, buyer did this thing and they've beaten me, or they called eBay and got their money that I don't think they should get. And, and then I call eBay and, they don't like me. The thing I say is, as long as you know what the eBay policies are and the PayPal policies are, then you don't ask eBay for help. You tell them what they need to do.
Right.
Right? I mean, because oftentimes the customer service rep, might not always be on top of their game. And so if you kind of are pointing them to where they need to go pointing out their own policies, then they're like,
that's
okay.
helpful. That's helpful. Yeah. Yes, but I've also had, reps, even the anchor reps, I've even had them be like, no, this is the policy. I'm like, then why did their rep yesterday say it was something totally different?
Then in that case,
you call back.
We just hang up and call back. So,
yeah.
Hello, this is Craig calling. I'm curious why I am so scared to death of shipping or even attempting to put on eBay large furniture items, dressers, chairs, so forth. I have no experience on shipping. How do you do your shipping? I know you can set up for local pickup and or have the customer then offer you to ship them to them and let them do the footwork for establishing shipping arrangements. What's the best way to go about that? Second question is this. International sales. Why am I so scared to death to entertain international sales, even knowing that it will open up a huge audience for my sales? It scares me to deal with that. Anyway, any help in those two items would be a blessing. Thank you so much. Love listening to your podcast. I live on it. I put it on while I'm cooking dinner every night. Thank you so much. Love you both.
Okay, number one, furniture, local pickup. It's almost just like Craigslist. You're just like, come get it, or find someone on uship.com to come get it,
Right.
and I will coordinate a time when they can come pick it up, and you can exchange phone numbers. You can just talk on eBay. I mean, there have been times where we just talk through eBay messages, and someone comes and picks stuff up.
And then even for larger items like lamps or
Right.
things that can get shipped but are difficult to pack, I mean, you can put a handling fee on there
And have it packed for
a
you.
local packer do it for you,
Right.
you know? And then just tack on that extra,
Yeah.
it's $40. I mean, if your skill is identifying quality items
Right.
that you can buy for cheap, then just focus on that skill and let other people do that grunt work.
And if you have storage.
Like, I think if I were to be doing this by as myself, I might go that route. Because, I mean, I don't know how good of a packer I actually
Right.
am. And you seem to actually enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't mind
think.
it. I don't mind it.
So-
well, and also it makes us money. So
Yeah.
if I can ship weird things,
So I enjoy, I don't mind. They're kind of the same. But,
enjoy.
you know.
It depends on what it is, but yeah, yes. Don't be afraid, or just try it with one thing. Find a cool dresser, put it up, see how it goes. If you hate it,
Yeah.
don't do it.
And selling overseas or, you know, outside of America, I mean, that's what the whole global shipping program is.
If you don't want to send something direct to Japan, just turn on global shipping and just don't even think about
And
it.
then-
Just send it to Kentucky.
And that way, it's like you're doing
Yeah.
it inside of the States.
yeah, it's
and
fine.
That's it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Hi, Ryan and Jay. This is Melissa, and I'm calling from South Carolina. I'm a part-time eBayer, and I pick from the Charleston down to the Savannah area. I am calling to ask about one of your sold items that you did not talk about on the podcast, which was a pair of gorgeous green vintage lamps. I would love to hear about where you found them, period. I love that style of decor, and they seem like they sold for a wonderful price. So I would love to hear the story behind that. I hope it wasn't another edition of the painting on wood that's the crazy mullet dude that was a fake sale. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Bye.
Yes, we did sell those lamps, as we mentioned. They were sold right after the podcast. I think it was that evening. So we didn't have a chance to talk about them, but they did sell. They've been shipped. They're almost delivered because they had to go across the country. So we'll see what happens.
We're glad they're gone.
Yes.
We did have one question where a person emailed us. People can just email us if they want. Okay, I'll try and kind of do a summary of this. This guy says his dad is a big fan of our podcast. Well, thank you.
Very nice.
And because of our inspiration, he started his own eBay store 8 years ago. And he's working for himself, and he says his dad's kind of hit a wall. His dad is only selling shoes, it sounds like, and he's buying shoes from different places, but he's really questioning why he should keep doing it because he's really not making any extra cash. He says his dad's all of his profit goes back into buying more shoes, so it's kind of like that weird grind.
Yeah.
So the guy is like, well, what do I tell? It's my dad because he doesn't know if he should get a job. Okay.
Right.
I mean, number one is there's a couple things here. If shoes aren't doing well, it's for you, then sell other things.
Right.
Either
Branch
sell
out.
shoes plus other things.
Right.
I mean, the other thing too is, I mean, you should be able to buy those things cheap enough and sell them for a good enough profit where you're not just putting all your profit back into buying into more shoes. Like, I mean, we can go to Goodwill or any kind of a thrift shop and buy shoes for $3-4 and sell for
max.
$20-30+ dollars.
Yeah.
So
Shoes are a great thing to sell.
yeah, I mean, I think if I was working only by it's myself, it's one of those guys that just sells shoes because they're so easy to find. People buy shoes.
You know the brands, you know
it's
the
just,
quality.
It can be boring.
Sure.
And that might be one of the underlying things that his dad is having a problem with is just burnout. I mean, if you're 4 years just selling shoes
by yourself,
that's a grind.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a grind.
unless you really love shoes.
Yeah.
We just don't love any one thing enough to only focus
We
on
have to pivot because we get bored and we
Yeah.
get burnt out.
I like that word, pivot. We pivoted.
I'm all about pivoting. I'm all about that. Just change it up sometimes. Just like, look, she had 300 scheduled listings for me. And
Our helper.
And a lot of it was flatware. We had like all this silver plate flatware, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm going crazy. So I was like, okay, list the clothes that she did. List the fabric that she, like, just change it up so you don't go crazy, you know? You're like turning into a robot, you know? You have to.
I mean, and we definitely do agree that it does take a little bit of time to kind of get things up and
sure.
Get your store to actually get to a point where it's actually, having income.
Yeah.
But really, it shouldn't be more than 6 months.
4 years.
I mean, 6 months should be like the longest amount of time if you're actually putting time into the store for you to see a good profit start coming out.
Right.
And if you aren't, then that means, you
gotta change.
You need to change things up.
Yep.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. My name is Anne Marie. I'm not a big eBay seller, but I do use ShipSaver to do all the shipping and insuring for my other business. If you're not syncing from eBay, I believe that the confirmation emails have always been automatic, the ones that get sent to your customer. But there's an easy way to turn them off. You just go into Preferences at the top in your menu bar, and scroll down to System Preferences, under which you will see Insurance Confirmation Email, where you can turn it from auto to manual. So it's probably default on auto. I imagine they updated the eBay syncing to grab customers' email addresses for the first time recently. But this has always been on when you manually enter your customer transactions. So just switch it from auto to manual, and it won't send those emails anymore. Have a great day. Bye.
Yes, so this is very good that you said this. I actually messaged ShipSaver. I should have just looked in my preferences, but I didn't even see that tab. I was like, ShipSaver, why are you emailing my customers? They're like, oh, your auto email notification preference was turned on, which is weird because I don't think it was turned on before, and I just turned it off. So there is a little like preference tab that you can be like, close and be done with it. So yes, that was very helpful.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. This is Christine Keefe. I love your show, and just wanted to let you guys know I really enjoy it every week. Anyways, I am calling to let you guys know about something really strange that happened to me on eBay. And I think this is probably not the first time it's happened to me. It's just the first time I've realized it's happened to me. And, maybe other people want to keep a lookout for this too. So I had kind of a strange return from a feedback buyer, a strange interaction with them, and eBay ended up stepping in. They were claiming an item wasn't as described. It was like a cordless phone set, and they said it's making this buzzing sound, and the one they had already makes that sound, and they're not going to pay for another one that makes that sound. And that was kind of a red flag to me that they might be returning, not the item I sent them, because the item I sent them did work, didn't make a buzzing sound. Anyways, eBay stepped in. They did tell the buyer to return the item, and they actually gave them a prepaid label. The buyer never returned the item. 10 days passed, and I was able to get the return closed in my favor because the buyer never returned the item. When I spoke to the rep, this was on Monday, the rep said, oh, yeah, they printed the label, but they never used it. And I thought, oh, whatever, they probably knew that they were busted and they weren't going to return it. Anyways, yesterday in the mail, I received a cordless phone set back. Certainly not the one I had sent them, but a cordless phone set back using the prepaid label. This person had been able to take the label they had already printed, and when the case was found in my favor, stick the item in the mail, and I got charged $6.30 in postage for that return shipping label. So I called eBay yesterday, and the person wasn't like super helpful. They said, oh yeah, that shouldn't have worked, but we can't credit you back the amount. We'll have to file an appeal, whatever. So I called this morning again, and the person was like, oh, that label definitely shouldn't have still worked. We're surprised that it did. They weren't able to actually credit the account for some reason, so they gave me a $7 coupon that I can use on eBay, which is fine. I was more concerned with the fact that, they should be aware that this can happen. And they all seemed very surprised that the label actually still worked. They said that, after the 10 days it shouldn't work, after it's found in the seller's favor it shouldn't work, but it did. So, if anybody gets a return back from a buyer after a case is found in the seller's favor, just be aware that you may have been charged for that label, and call eBay and at least get yourself a coupon for the amount that you're out on the shipping. So anyways, love your show, and thanks a lot. Bye.
Yeah, that's really weird.
How often does it happen where someone doesn't return it, it's within the window, we have it closed, and then the item comes? Very rarely. Very
rarely, and also a lot of the times they haven't printed the label. They just paid for it on their own. That's what I see most of the time. You're like, you could have printed a label, but you didn't. The only thing that I know about labels though is when eBay is like, the label shouldn't have worked, is odd because you're like, they printed the label out in time, in quotes.
Right.
And it's just a tracking number.
Right.
USPS isn't going to be like, this tracking number is invalid.
I'm going to pull it out of the huge stream of packages.
They're just going to scan it and they're like, it's a valid number.
Right.
It's not going to get returned to sender or whatever. Right. That's just not how it works. The number's been generated and USPS just scans it. It's not going through eBay or anything. So it's essentially always going to work.
Right.
So I don't know how eBay can avoid that with USPS. Yeah. It's impossible.
But I'm glad she called and kind of, told them, I don't know what they can do, but maybe they can start having some kind of conversation. I mean, eBay has a pretty deep relationship. It's with the postal service, so maybe there's a way for them to do something.
Invalidate it. But I don't know how.
The good thing is, I don't know about other people. That just happens so
rarely.
People either mail it or they don't, and it's a strange occurrence when something just shows up in the mail.
But it's good. I'm very glad to hear that you called back and you got some sort of credit or coupon or something, because you're like, look, if I'm out $6 a couple times every month, this is not very helpful, Right. So it's good that you kind of push that. You should always do that. When they're like, we can't credit you, it's like, oh yes you can. Okay, that's it for the podcast this week. You can check out our blog at scavengerlife.com for the links we discuss and to join the conversation on the forum. You can call and leave a question or a comment on our voicemail line. You have 3 minutes. Everyone this time was good, but a lot of people do get cut off. The phone number is 540-407-8486. We post an episode every Monday morning. On Wednesdays, we post a What Sells video that shows you stuff that's sold on eBay. Currently brought to you by Steven Schultz. You can subscribe to us through iTunes or through YouTube, and you'll always get the latest episode. You can listen to our other podcast, which we just updated last week, at shampooandbooze.com, where we talk about our Airbnb business. You can rent our vacation farmhouse. The link to that is on shampooandbooze.com. And we are ending this podcast in 3, 2, 1.